You know, often on this channel, I like to gloat about being right. And today, I unfortunately have the task of saying that I was wrong. You see, if you guys at all kept track with this channel and the podcast that we've had on and off for the last year and a half to 2 years, you would know that I have predicted that Sony was on the same path as Microsoft when it came to their third party um, strategy, but they were just 5 years behind. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Microsoft started publishing their games on Steam, and the Xbox were like, it's not technically becoming a third party because PC is different and it doesn't really count. And then they slowly but surely changed their strategy to Game Pass, and I pointed that out, and then there was denial there, and then slowly but surely more games started coming out and getting announced for Nintendo Switch, and the Xbox were like, well, the Switch isn't really a direct competitor. Yeah, it's a console, but it's not the same. It's not coming to PS5. And then, lo and behold, those games showed up on PlayStation. Indiana Jones and all these other Microsoft games started showing up on PlayStation. And my prediction was that Sony was 5 years behind. That in the next 5 years, Sony would become a third party publisher in the very same way that Microsoft was. And of course, on here the Sony ponies said I was wrong, and they were right. I was wrong. How so? Well, I said it would take around 5 years, and they were 5 years behind. I was wrong. It's happening now. Sony is officially a third party publisher. Oh my God. What about the exclusives? Well, the future is that there aren't going to be any exclusives unless you are buying Nintendo consoles. And we'll see how Nintendo handles that in the next 5 to 10 years. But as of right now, we have the following games. Most of Sony's first party games are on Steam. And the Sony ponies said the same thing as the Xbox. It doesn't count. PC is not technically a console, so it doesn't count. Well, then we started getting Sony-made games and Sony properties like Lego Horizon Adventures showing up on the Switch. And then they announced Patapon 1 and 2 Replay, former PlayStation exclusives, would be getting published on Nintendo Switch. And Everybody's Golf Hot Shots is coming to the Switch. Not to mention MLB The Show, but that's a whole different ball of wax, if you will. But oh my God, that doesn't count. The Sony pony say the Switch is kind of like sounds familiar, right? Well, my friends, today Sony has announced Helldivers 2, a Sony funded game, a Sony published game, a Sony exclusive game for consoles because it was also on PC, is now headed to the Xbox Series S and X. That's right, folks. A Sony game is showing up on the mainline competition. Sony is exclusively no longer making exclusives. They proved me wrong. I'll give them credit. It didn't take 5 years. They did it right away. They saw that 76% of the games sold last holiday on their console, on the PS5, were all Microsoft published titles. And they took a seat back and said, oh crap, we haven't dropped a game since 2024. And what do they have this year? I mean, they just finished dropping Death Stranding 2. Microsoft dropped Avowed, Indiana Jones, Songs of Midnight, etc., etc. Microsoft is 100% a third-party publisher, whether you Xbox like to admit it or not. Now, I mean, it's quite obvious they are third party. And now, for all the Sony ponies out there, so is Sony. PlayStation games are now coming to Xbox. PlayStation games exclusives are all over Steam and PC and Windows. And they're on Nintendo Switch. Nintendo has them. So, what's the point of owning a PlayStation now? Well, it's I guess if you prefer the controllers, I guess that's what it's going to come down to now, boys. You're going to have to argue about who has the best controller, and that's why I picked my console. I like the controller. I mean, but then again, you can just pick up these third-party accessories that actually mimic the competition's control button setup. So really, it's going to come down to my box plays them at 4K 60 while yours drop the frame. It's gonna be that. And if you're gonna have that argument, then guess what, boys? You're gonna lose the PC master race argument every single time, because nobody's gonna outspec a guy who can build a PC. And the next thing that I have to be correct about, of course, that Chris and I have had ups and downs, is that, you know, I've said that we will get one more Microsoft generation made by Microsoft, and Chris still in his head has doubts that even after they announced it, that they are making one more system at the very least, partnering with AMD, he says, well, it's not a custom chip, so it doesn't, you don't need custom chipsets to make a console. All you need is custom software. And from everything that they've announced and everything that's been rumored and leaked, this is a Microsoft-made console that will also run PC games and have an Xbox dashboard. It's going to be a hybrid. Also, all of the rumors that have been around and everything that has been for this Microsoft stuff has absolutely come true. More of the rumors is that it will also be like a backwards compatibility powerhouse, that Microsoft is planning to make Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and the series games all 100% backwards compatible through emulation, which would be wild. Microsoft's not perfect, boys, because they had massive layoffs. 9,000 people got laid off over at Microsoft over the last couple of days. So this is not a victory roll or victory parade for Microsoft either. They are laying off people left and right, and they canceled Perfect Dark, which isn't great. So who's the winner of the console wars? Well, there's this a classic 80s movies with Matthew Broderick called War Games. And at the end, they're playing the computer and in a game of chess to thermonuclear war is the name of the game. And the computer at the very end says, the only way to win is to not play the game. And that's what Nintendo did, starting with the Wii. It took 25 years, 20 years. It took 20 years for their strategy to play out. But the winner of the console wars is Nintendo, because they still have first-party exclusivity. You're not getting these games on anything out there yet. I don't see it happening in the near future. They have a strategy that sells consoles. They have a strategy that sells, even better than selling consoles, software. So, all you Xbox out there, all you Sony ponies out there, all you Nintendo nerds, how does it feel? You're getting Sony games on Xbox. You're getting Xbox games on PlayStation. You're getting Xbox and Sony games on Nintendo. They won. Nintendo has everybody's games, and nobody gets their games. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. How does it feel that after all this time, Nintendo takes out Atari, Nintendo takes out 3DO, Nintendo takes out Sega, Nintendo now has officially outlasted and beaten Microsoft, and for all intents and purposes, Sony as well. Let me know in the comments how you feel below. How does it feel that your company has betrayed you? Leave a comment. Subscribe if you like the video. If you don't like the video, leave a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments. Why? Why? Defend your company. Let me know. As always, I am here, Star Flag Media Gaming, and we will catch you guys in the next video.